Hi friends, Ted from Immersion here, and yeah, so I watched the intro piece to D&D Live 2021. It is something. It's definitely better than 2020 was, but it isn't by much. The audio kicking off a little rough, sounded very muffled. Audio levels were all over the place. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about what I took some notes, information we got, new stuff regarding Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. So they interviewed James Wyatt, who I've said before was the writer of the original 3.5e Draconomicon, which is one of my favorite D&D books of all time. Even though we're getting this book, I still recommend if you're a Dungeons & Dragons player and you're planning to use dragons in your game, it's worth going out and picking up a copy of that book. You can get, I think, a print. I don't think you can get a print on demand, but you can definitely get a PDF on the DMs Guild, or go on Facebook Marketplace or eBay or something, and you can get a physical copy of the book, usually in the $30 to $40 range. So, what did we get from this that was new? James mentioned a moonstone dragon, which is sort of a fairy Feywild dragon. Now, in the Gizmodo article we got earlier today, they referred to it as a gleamstone dragon. I think those are probably the same thing, and that was just a nomenclature change. But I would imagine those are the same. He mentioned that there's around 20 tables in the book that provide different aspects for the dragons, as well as hooks for you to use in the game. There's going to be a big focus again on the lair stuff, things you can find within a lair, why a dragon's magical presence in the world changes it, to make the area around the lair have different effects. We know that a new monster coming in the book will be a dragon-sized Hoard Mimic. Now, this is not an original concept. I've seen a lot of Hoard Golems in the past. Specifically, Kobold Press has several Treasure and or Hoard Golems. However, this is a Hoard Mimic, which is very interesting. Whereas usually the Hoard Golem is an animated, the Hoard itself animates and fights you, but when you kill it, it is still that. This is a Mimic, so rather than being bits of gold flying around in Golem form, it's actually all just one big, large, I guess it's all fake. James Wyatt once again described it as a toy box for players and dungeon masters. He did go out of his way and say that this is not necessarily a tool for new players, which I thought was a very interesting, and I'm actually a big fan of that. While I do appreciate and love bringing new players into the game, it's nice to not have everything be an intro piece, something that will cater to veterans. Although the thought process is, this is a book full of dragons. It will bring anybody into the game because dragons have that kind of pull. There was a lot of focus in the interviews about key parts of dragons being a fundamental part of the material plane. I don't know if this lore is new. If I recall correctly, at least in the Forgotten Realms lore, dragons were not there first. The kind of progenitor races of the Forgotten Realms were there first. So in theory, humans were on Faerun before dragons were. I know the lore gets a little funky, but I thought they actually came from outer space as like meteorites, and those are dragon eggs. I'm not the lore guy. You can go find information out about that. But yeah, apparently they are shaping the world, and they're all part of this. And I did think it was really funny. At one point, James Wyatt mentions that ancient dragons are some of the most powerful monsters in the monster manual. And I literally wrote LOL in my notes because dragons are not scary in 5th edition, as we've discussed. Maybe this will change that, especially with the Great Worm concept, but no, dragons are kind of weak in 5th edition, especially if you're used to the spellcasting, terrifying nature of dragons from older editions. 5th edition dragons, he specifically went out to say that they are not just large lizards, and I would say they're more like that in 5th edition than they were in any edition prior. So there's a whole section on eggs, which I thought was interesting. Eggs and hoards, they referenced that a few different times. Eggs, they, again, not just a big lizard. They're tied to the material plane. And then there was a little bit about how eggs are present. They mentioned possibly the eggs grow on some sort of large, maybe like a Yggdrasil world tree style thing. The eggs are found deep in the earth and may be mined by dwarves. Perhaps all the eggs are birthed into existence by some sort of greater council, perhaps a council of worms, or something like that. All the hoards, the dragon hoards, all the wealth that the dragons gather is a focus on the material plane and built from magic. There's, again, a big focus on this dragons being a fundamental part in shaping the material plane. Apparently, you might be able to diminish a dragon's power by stealing from their hoard. I don't know if this is literally just removing magic items from the dragon's hoard, or in this new version of it, the amount of hoard a dragon has may be a direct proportion to their character and to their strength level. When asked what his favorite monster was in Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, James Wyatt said an Elder Brain Dragon. Now, some of you may be familiar with the concept of a Brain Stealer Dragon, which is where you take one of the Mind Flayer tadpoles and you implant it into a dragon, whether I can't remember if it has to be a dragon egg or a wormling, and basically the dragon undergoes ceramorphosis and becomes a Brain Stealer Dragon. This is not that. This is this to another level. This is an Elder Brain Dragon, where the actual Elder Brain itself, which usually lives in the brine pool and is the hub of the Mind Flayer community, wherever it is, supplants itself from the brine pool and implants itself somewhere on the dragon, whether the head or the back, and uses it as its Elder Brainy tendrils to control the dragon. So now you have a mobile Elder Brain with all of the intense psychic abilities of an Elder Brain, but piloting a dragon of some kind, which is absolutely terrifying. And I would say super original if Call from the Deep didn't exist, the DM's Guild adventure that I've reviewed here on the channel, where that exact scenario happens, except an Elder Brain supplants itself into a kraken. So I'm sure this concept of Elder Brains and dragons has existed in the past, but the fact that it literally is the cornerstone of an adventure that I've reviewed makes me feel like maybe they just copied that, but that's what happens when you release on the DM's Guild. Your stuff can be taken and changed however you like. And lastly, the one thing that was mentioned was a Draco Hydra. So I don't know what that means, but I'm going to assume it's a Hydra infused with draconic energy. Perhaps it is like a multi-headed dragon Hydra. I don't know, maybe you cut the heads, you can make like a mini Tiamat if you have, I don't know if you can, however that works. But they also focused a lot on Fizban, and Amy Vorpal was in the studio talking about the process for writing Fizban and, how, and I guess I can address this here. So Fizban, for those of you who don't know, Fizban is a human sort of caricature or transformation of the god Paladine, which is the platinum dragon of the Dragonlance series. Again, never read Dragonlance, I just know this from being in the D&D community. And Paladine is also Bahamut, or an echo or a variant of them, but they are all still the same creature. And this concept of this multiversal great worm echoes from other universes kind of a thing. Paladine is Bahamut, it's just referred to as Paladine in Dragonlance and Bahamut everywhere else. So Fizban is sort of a doddering old wizard who is forgetful, someone who's lived a very long time as a large, ancient, world-surpassing dragon like Bahamut would be. And they show him with canaries, which is a whole thing about how Fizban is usually attended to by, I think it's 7 ancient gold worm dragons, which travel around with it disguised as canaries. So I guess there's a lot of interesting knowledge and similar to what we've seen from Morden Canaans and Xanathars and Tashas, where you get your little snippets. I figure I wouldn't have made that like a big focus of my time to explain this new book, because it's just like snippets on the side that you can completely ignore and don't actually provide you any benefit other than a little bit of insight behind the character writing the book, which again is just flavor text. It doesn't actually affect anything fundamentally. I didn't say it earlier on, but there is an alternative cover for this. It was on the thumbnail image of my last video. If you were to head over to the D&D website right here, I'll show you. The page has been updated, so we can go ahead and take a look. Here it is. Here's all the different places you can buy it. I didn't even know Books A Million was still a thing. Barnes & Noble, D&D Beyond, Roll20, Amazon. Here it is. This is the stuff we went over last night, but here you can see the ancient or the alt cover. This is exclusively in game stores, so you'll have to check with your local store if this is a concept or available for you. Again, as per usual, like I always do, I will go and pre-order multiple copies at my local game store so that I can provide to you one of these and a giveaway, as I do a giveaway for every new D&D release, and I have for about the past 5 years. So if you want to get a chance to get alternative cover options for Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, Strixhaven if it has one, I always do that because I enjoy giving back to the community that helps me make Nerd Immersion what it is today. A wonderful place for people to share ideas and have fun and talk around in the Discord and comment on all of the videos and help keep me going. So I figured that's the simplest way that I can help give back to all of you, is just giving away books at least, well, now apparently 5 times a year, if not more than that. So thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned here to Nerd Immersion. If you have not subscribed and turn on your notification bell, definitely do so. There will be more news coming out, although based on this, I don't know if we're going to get anything. We did get some good, teaser hits here. The Elder Brain Dragon and the Dragon Mimic, Hoard Mimic being the big ones. But we will see. Coming up later today, Chris Perkins will be talking about Wild Beyond the Witchlight, the adventure that he helped write that comes out in September. And I think that's pretty much it for today, minus any other little things we get in between, where we might get little teasers or things like that. And then tomorrow we'll have more about Strixhaven. So again, stay tuned to the channel. More good news to come. I hope you all are having a wonderful Friday, and I hope you have an excellent weekend. May it be full of Dungeons and Dragons. May you roll all of the natural 20s and all the other clever taglines that people throw at the end of their videos. But I don't have any of those. I just say, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.